The ominous warning. In the vastness of space, the Galactic Council gathered in a grand chamber that shimmered with the colors of many different species. Representatives from all corners of the galaxy filled the room, their discussions echoing off the walls. Among them were towering Thrians, delicate Sylphs, and the stoic Drexens. Today, the agenda was serious. The fate of many worlds hung in the balance. At the center of this grand assembly stood John Carter, a human envoy sent from Earth. He was nervous, but he knew how important this moment was. He had spent years studying the Council's ways, and now had the chance to share a crucial warning about a growing threat. John took a deep breath and stepped forward, his heart racing. Honored members of the Galactic Council, John began, his voice steady. I come before you to deliver a grave warning. The Zarkans, an aggressive race, are plotting an invasion of Earth. Murmurs spread across the room. Some council members exchanged glances, while others snickered quietly. A tall Thrian with shimmering skin stood up, raising a hand dismissively. Why should we be concerned about humans? Your warships are outdated and weak. John's stomach twisted. He could feel the weight of their disbelief. With all due respect, the humans have made significant advancements in our technology. Our ships are stronger and faster than ever before. If the Zarkans attack, they will not be an easy target. Another representative, a sylph with translucent wings, laughed. We have seen your ships in action. They are nothing but toys compared to our fleets. You are overestimating your importance, human. John clenched his fists, trying to remain calm. I assure you, our intelligence suggests that the Zarkans plan to strike soon. They see Earth as an easy conquest. If you do not act, they will become a threat to you as well. The council erupted in laughter. The Drexen representative leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. And what makes you think we should risk our forces for a race that has always been considered insignificant? With every jeer, John felt more determined. He had traveled far and sacrificed much to be here. The Zarkans have already destroyed peaceful worlds. If they conquer Earth, they will not stop there. Their thirst for power will lead them to your worlds next. The laughter faded, replaced by murmurs of uncertainty. A heavy-set alien with scales stood up, his voice booming. Why should we believe you? Humans are a dying race. You have lost your strength, and your planet is nothing more than a relic of the past. John took a step forward, speaking passionately. But we have not lost our spirit. We have a strong military presence, and our advancements are not to be ignored. We have developed new weaponry and tactics that will change the way battles are fought. The council listened, some curious and others still dismissive. John could sense the skepticism in the air, but he pressed on. I urge you to send scouts to confirm my words. You must see the threat for yourselves. Waiting will only lead to disaster. Finally, a voice of authority echoed from the back of the chamber. It belonged to the council leader, a wise and ancient being known as Xalor. He had seen many conflicts and knew the cost of war. John Carter, your warning is noted, but we cannot act on fear alone. Until we have solid evidence of the Zarkan threat, we must prioritize our own safety. John felt a surge of frustration. You are making a mistake. The Zarkans will strike without warning, and by then it will be too late. But the council was unmoved. They began to chatter among themselves, dismissing John's concerns as if they were mere stories from a child. As he stepped back, disappointment washed over him. The meeting concluded without any action taken. The members of the council departed, laughing and chatting, leaving John standing alone. He had hoped to rally the council to unite against a common enemy, but instead he felt powerless. As John left the grand chamber, he realized that he had to take matters into his own hands. If the council would not listen, he would find a way to protect his home. He returned to Earth, determined to rally his fellow humans. Back on Earth, John worked tirelessly to prepare for the worst. He spoke to military leaders, urging them to increase defenses and readiness. We must be ready for an attack at any moment, he insisted. "The Council may not believe us, but we cannot afford to be caught off guard." Some listened, others were skeptical, but John's warnings began to resonate with those who understood the stakes. He led efforts to upgrade the human fleet, pushing for new technologies and improved training. Every day, he felt the urgency grow. Days turned into weeks, and John's anxiety continued to rise. The Zarkans were relentless and hungry for conquest. Even if the Galactic Council would not act, he would ensure that humanity was prepared. The stakes were too high, and he would not let his people down. As he watched the stars from Earth, he thought of the Council's dismissive laughter. They had ignored the warning, but he would not let their disbelief seal humanity's fate. He believed in the strength of the human spirit, and he would fight for Earth, even if he had to do it alone. With a heavy heart, but a determined spirit, John resolved to protect his home. The Zarkans may not see humanity as a threat, but he knew that they would soon regret underestimating Earth. As he turned back to his work, he felt a fire ignite within him, a fire that would drive him to fight against all odds. The warning had been given, but the real battle was just beginning. A growing danger. In the shadow of Earth, the Zarkans were preparing for war. Their home planet, a dark and rugged world, was filled with warriors who thrived on chaos and conquest. The Zarkan fleet gathered in the cold void of space, a massive armada of sleek, menacing ships, all bristling with weapons. The leader of this invasion was General Varkuth, a fierce and ambitious commander known for his ruthless strategies. As the Zarkan ships glided silently through the stars, Varkuth convened his generals in a large command chamber. The walls pulsed with an eerie light, reflecting the intense atmosphere within. "We have heard the reports from our scouts," he declared, his voice echoing off the metallic surfaces. "Humans are weak and unprepared. This is our moment to strike." His generals nodded eagerly, each one eager to demonstrate their power. "What is the plan, General?" asked Targov, a loyal but cunning officer. "Do we strike directly at their planet?" Varkuth's eyes gleamed with ambition. "No, we will make our presence known first. A show of force will make them tremble. We will attack their space stations and claim their territory. By the time they realize the danger, it will be too late." The room buzzed with excitement at this idea. They were eager to crush what they saw as a puny race. "Let them come to us," Targov shouted, slamming his fist on the table. "We will teach them the price of defiance." Varkuth smiled, pleased with his general's enthusiasm. "Prepare the fleet. We will set a course for Earth. I want their defenses shattered before they even know we are here." Meanwhile, on Earth, John Carter was racing against time. He was in the heart of a bustling command center, surrounded by screens displaying information from the military. The atmosphere was tense as John shared the intelligence he had gathered about the Zarkan fleet's movements. "Look at this data," John urged the officers around him. "The Zarkans are gathering strength. They are not taking their time. We must prepare for an attack." But some of the military leaders remained skeptical. Commander Stevens, a grizzled veteran with years of experience, folded his arms. "John, we appreciate your concern, but our defenses are strong. The Council has not found any solid proof of an incoming threat." Frustration bubbled within John. "But the Zarkans are real. They are ruthless. They have destroyed worlds before. If we wait too long, it will cost us dearly." Another officer, Captain Ramirez, leaned in. "What are you suggesting? Should we mobilize our entire fleet based on your warnings alone?" "Yes," John replied, his voice rising with passion. "We need to show the Zarkans we are ready to fight back. Even if the Galactic Council doesn't believe us, we must act. We have to train our pilots, upgrade our ships, and prepare our weapons." The room fell silent. John's words hung heavy in the air. He could see doubt in their eyes, but also a flicker of understanding. "If we prepare now, we stand a chance against their invasion. We must be united." Slowly, Commander Stevens nodded. "All right, John. We will increase our readiness. But we can't show panic. We need to act smartly." John felt a surge of hope. This was a small victory, but it was a step in the right direction. He immediately set to work, gathering the best minds in the military to develop strategies. They discussed the Zarkans' tactics and how to counter them. Days passed, and the atmosphere grew heavier. John spent sleepless nights studying, training, and preparing. He visited military bases, motivating pilots and engineers, urging them to believe in their capabilities. "We are more than just a race of explorers. We are warriors," he would say, his voice strong. "If we work together, we can protect our home." As the preparations intensified, news of strange happenings in space began to circulate. Ships reported sightings of Zarkan vessels patrolling near Earth, growing bolder. Reports confirmed that Zarkans were probing human defenses, testing their response times. The urgency of John's warning became undeniable. In the cold depths of space, Varkuth's fleet grew closer to Earth. "The humans have begun to prepare," he told his generals. "But they will be no match for our might. Their defenses will crumble beneath us." As the Zarkan ships moved stealthily, John gathered his most trusted officers in a war room filled with holographic maps of their territory. "We must anticipate their movements," he said, pointing at the screens. "They will strike hard and fast. We need to have a plan in place." Captain Ramirez interjected. "What if we set traps near our space stations? If we can lure them in, we could hit them when they least expect it." "Good idea," John replied, nodding. "We can create decoys to draw them into our defenses. This will give us a chance to counter their initial strike." As the humans prepared for the worst, the Zarkans continued their advance, feeling more confident with each passing moment. Varkuth's fleet was ready, their weapons charged and their spirits high. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change the course of their histories forever. John stared out at the stars, determination fueling him. They may not see the threat yet, but humanity would be ready. The storm was coming, and he would ensure that Earth stood strong against it, no matter the odds. The first clash. The day had arrived. The air was tense with anticipation as John Carter stood on the bridge of the flagship, the U.S. Valor. The vastness of space stretched before him, filled with twinkling stars, but lurking among them was the dark shadow of the Zarkan fleet. The crew moved with purpose, their eyes fixed on their stations, ready for battle. "Captain, our sensors are picking up Zarkan ships approaching the outer edge of our territory," reported Lieutenant Kim, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "They're moving fast, and their fleet is larger than we anticipated." John felt a chill run down his spine. "How many ships are we dealing with?" "Reports indicate at least 30 Zarkan warships," she replied. "We have only 15 ready for combat. The odds are not in our favor." "Not yet," John said, his determination hardening. "We'll use what we have. Set up defensive positions around our stations. We need to protect our colonies." As the crew jumped into action, John took a moment to gather his thoughts. They were fighting not just for themselves, but for every human being on Earth and beyond. The Zarkans were relentless, and this was just the beginning. Meanwhile, in the heart of the Zarkan fleet, General Varkuth paced in front of his generals. His ship, the Dreadnought Star, was a behemoth, larger than any human vessel. Varkuth's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Today, we show these humans our strength. They believe they can stand against us, but they will learn the truth." His generals cheered, their voices filled with bravado. "We will crush them," Targoth shouted. "Let's teach them a lesson they will never forget." "Launch the attack," Varkuth commanded, his voice booming. "Make them feel the fury of the Zarkan Empire." As the Zarkan ships surged forward, John watched from the bridge. The screen showed the approaching fleet, dark and menacing. "All hands, battle stations," he shouted, his heart racing. "Prepare to engage." The crew scrambled, adrenaline coursing through their veins. John's mind raced with tactics. We will use our decoys, draw them in, and when they are close, unleash everything we have. The U.S. Valor and its allied ships moved into formation, shields raised, weapons primed. As the Zarkans approached, the tension thickened like a storm cloud ready to burst. Now, John yelled as the first wave of Zarkan ships entered firing range. He slammed his hand on the command console. Open fire. The Valor erupted with energy, beams of light shooting towards the Zarkan fleet. The brilliant flashes illuminated the dark void of space, creating a dance of destruction. Zarkan ships returned fire, their energy blasts streaking toward the human vessels. Explosions rocked the battlefield, sending debris spiraling into the emptiness. John focused on the screens, directing his crew. Target their engines. If we can disable their ships, we'll slow them down. The crew responded with fierce determination, working in sync. They hit a Zarkan ship, and it spun out of control, fire trailing behind it. Cheers erupted on the Valor, but John knew better than to celebrate yet. Stay focused. We need to maintain our positions, he shouted, keeping his voice steady. However, the Zarkans were not easily deterred. Varkuth watched from his command ship, fury igniting within him. They resist with surprising strength, increase firepower, and flank their defenses. As the Zarkan fleet reformed, a group of their ships veered to the right, trying to outmaneuver the humans. John noticed their tactic and quickly ordered a change in strategy. Prepare to intercept their flank. Engage with full force. The Valor and its allies moved in tandem, weapons blazing. They struck true, hitting several Zarkan ships, but the enemy was relentless. A Zarkan ship targeted the Valor, its weapons charging for a devastating blast. Braced for impact, John shouted, gripping the edge of his command chair. The ship shook violently as the blast hit, knocking crew members off their feet. Alarms blared throughout the vessel, and smoke began to rise from damaged panels. Damage report, John barked, trying to regain control of the situation. Shields are holding at 50%, but we've lost power to the aft weapons. Lieutenant Kim responded, urgency in her voice. We can't take many more hits like that. Reinforce the shields on the rear, John commanded, rallying his crew. We can't back down now. If we lose, they will come for Earth next. As the battle raged on, John felt a surge of hope. Despite their losses, the humans fought valiantly. They were showing the Zarkans that they were not weak. Each blast, each maneuver was a testament to their spirit. In the chaos, John noticed a group of Zarkan ships trying to flank from behind. Captain, we need to pull back and regroup, Kim urged. No, we can't give them that advantage, John insisted. Prepare the decoys. We will lure them into our trap. With a swift command, the Valor released small drones that mimicked their ships, creating false targets. The Zarkans took the bait, charging towards the decoys. As they did, John saw an opportunity. Now, attack their rear flank. The Valor and its remaining allies turned, firing at the exposed Zarkan ships. Explosions erupted as the surprise attack caught them off guard. Cheers echoed on the bridge as the tide of battle shifted. But just as victory seemed within reach, Varkuth's voice rang out through the chaos. Fall back, regroup, and prepare for a counterattack. We will not let these humans defeat us. The Zarkan fleet retreated, but the damage was done. Humanity had stood its ground, showing that they were more than just a target. They were warriors, ready to fight for their home. As the dust settled and the battle waned, John stood on the bridge, breathing heavily. We held them off, but this is just the beginning. The crew exchanged glances, a mixture of relief and determination. They had won the day, but the war was far from over. They needed to prepare, to learn, and to grow stronger. John stared out at the stars, a burning resolve in his heart. The Zarkans would return, and humanity had to be ready. The fight for their future had only just begun. The aftermath. The U.S. Valor floated in the quiet aftermath of battle. Smoke and debris still lingered in the cold expanse of space, remnants of the fierce clash that had just taken place. The hum of the ship's systems was a welcome sound, a reminder that they had survived. But the victory felt bittersweet to Captain John Carter. "Status report," he called out, trying to shake off the heaviness in his chest. "Damage control teams are assessing the ship, Captain," replied Lieutenant Kim. "We took some hits, but the primary systems are still operational. Our weapons are reloading, and the shields are down to 25%. "Good," John nodded, forcing a reassuring smile. "We'll need them ready for the next encounter." "What about the crew?" "Medical teams are treating minor injuries, no fatalities." "Thank goodness," Kim replied, her voice steady but tinged with relief. "But morale is low. The crew needs to regroup after what happened out there." John turned his gaze toward the view screen, where the remnants of the Zarkan fleet were slowly drifting away, damaged but still dangerous. He knew they would regroup and return stronger. "Prepare a message to the other ships. I want to address the fleet. They need to know what we achieved today." As he composed his thoughts, John understood the importance of his words. The battle was not just a test of their strength, but also a demonstration of unity. Humanity was fighting back against an empire that underestimated them. It was time to inspire hope and determination in his crew. Moments later, John stood before the fleet's assembled officers, their faces illuminated by the glow of the screens. "My friends," he began, his voice firm and clear. "Today, we faced overwhelming odds. The Zarkans came at us with everything they had, and yet here we stand. We fought with courage and skill, and we showed them that humanity is not to be taken lightly." The officers exchanged glances, some nodding in agreement. John continued, "We took hits, yes, but we also struck back. We did not run. We did not hide. Instead, we stood our ground and fought for our future. Each of you played a vital role in that fight. Remember that." The room filled with a renewed sense of purpose. The camaraderie among the crew ignited as John spoke. "But this is not the end. The Zarkans will return. They will come back stronger. We must be ready. We will train harder, strategize better, and ensure that next time, we are not just defending, but attacking. We will turn the tide in this war." Applause erupted, echoing through the bridge and beyond. The energy shifted. Hope blossomed among the crew. John felt a swell of pride for his team. They were ready to face whatever came next. As the crew began to disperse, John felt a gentle hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Kim looking at him with a warm smile. "You really inspired them, Captain. They needed that." "Thank you, Lieutenant. But it's not just me. We all need to work together to keep this momentum going," John replied, his mind already racing with plans. "Speaking of which, what's our next move?" she asked, eager to continue the fight. "First, we need to assess our allies. We can't face the Zarkans alone," John said, looking at the displays. "We'll reach out to the other human fleets and see if we can combine our efforts. Together, we can create a united front." As they worked through the logistics, John couldn't shake the feeling that their efforts would lead to greater consequences. The Zarkans had dismissed humanity as weak, but the truth was far from that. They had shown resilience, and they would continue to prove their strength. Meanwhile, in the heart of the Zarkan fleet, General Varkuth seethed with anger. The humans had surprised him, and he was determined to rectify that. "Those pathetic creatures think they can defy us," he snarled, glaring at his generals. "They will learn the price of their defiance." "We must regroup and launch a stronger assault," Targoth suggested. "Next time, we'll overwhelm them before they can respond." "Yes," Varkuth agreed, his voice rising with excitement. "We will launch a two-pronged attack, hitting their colonies while we confront their fleet. They will not see it coming." As the Zarkan fleet began to regroup, John felt a sense of urgency. They needed to act quickly. "Get me the latest intel on Zarkan movements," he ordered, and Kim complied, diving into the data. As she worked, John contemplated the larger picture. The war was far from over, and the stakes were rising. Humanity had shown they could fight back, but they had also drawn attention. Their strategy needed to change. "Captain, we have new intel," Kim announced. "The Zarkans are massing their fleet. It looks like they're planning a major offensive soon." "Then we must be ready," John replied, his resolve hardening. "We need to prepare our defenses and strengthen our alliances. I want communication sent to every fleet we can reach." As the crew worked tirelessly, John remained focused on the challenge ahead. They would not cower. They would adapt, grow, and strike back harder than before. In the quiet moments between the frantic activity, John took a breath and stared out at the stars. They had survived, but the next battle would determine their fate. He knew that if humanity stood united, they could achieve the impossible. And so, as the U.S. Valor prepared for the storm ahead, John Carter felt a spark of hope ignite within him. They would fight, they would endure, and together, they would prove that humanity was not just a footnote in the galaxy, but a force to be reckoned with. The gathering storm. Days turned into weeks aboard the U.S. Valor, and the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The crew had settled into a routine, driven by the need to prepare for the impending Zarkan assault. Captain John Carter kept the crew motivated, organizing drills and strategy meetings to ensure everyone was ready. On the bridge, John studied the star maps laid out before him. The Zarkan fleet was on the move, and intelligence reports indicated they were plotting a course toward human colonies. "We need to warn the civilians," John stated firmly. "If the Zarkans are attacking, we cannot let them catch anyone off guard." Lieutenant Kim nodded, typing rapidly on her console. "I'll send out alerts to all nearby colonies. We need to get everyone to safety and prepare them for possible evacuation." As the alerts went out, John couldn't help but feel the weight of responsibility resting on his shoulders. He was not only protecting his crew, but also the lives of countless civilians. "We have to keep them safe. This is about more than just us," he reminded himself. Meanwhile, in the Zarkan command ship, General Varkuth was preparing for his own offensive. He stood before his generals, a fierce gleam in his eye. "The humans believe they can challenge us, but they are mistaken. We will crush their resolve before they have a chance to regroup. Prepare the fleet for battle." His generals nodded, their expressions grim. They had lost ships in the previous encounter, and the defeat stung their pride. Varkuth could sense their determination to avenge that loss, and he fed off their anger. "Once we take out their strongest fleet, the others will scatter. We will show them that defiance comes at a cost." Back on the U.S. Valor, John was deep in discussion with his officers. "We know they're coming, and we can't let them take any more colonies. We need to set a trap for them. Captain, if we can lure them into an ambush, we can exploit their overconfidence," suggested Commander Patel, a tactical officer known for his sharp mind. John nodded. "Yes, but we need to choose our location wisely. We can't allow them to outmaneuver us again. Let's position ourselves near the asteroid belt. The debris can help us hide our movements." "Good plan," Kim chimed in. "We can use the asteroids to block their sensors and give us an advantage." "Fire at will," John commanded. The U.S. Valor launched a full volley at the battleship, the energy beams striking true. The massive ship shuddered, but it continued its relentless advance. The Zarkan fleet pressed on, seeking to overpower the humans once and for all. "Keep firing," John urged, his voice unwavering. "We can't let them break our lines." The battle was fierce, and the stakes had never been higher. Ships were being destroyed all around them, but the crew of the U.S. Valor fought on, embodying the spirit of humanity. As the Zarkan battleship closed in, John realized that this was it, the final confrontation. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and they had to fight with everything they had. "Together, we will win this fight," John shouted, rallying his crew as the U.S. Valor surged forward, ready to face the storm head-on. The echoes of their previous battles rang in his ears, and he felt the power of their shared resolve. With one final charge, the U.S. valor hurtled toward the enemy, a testament to humanity's indomitable spirit. They would not go quietly into the night. They would fight, and they would prevail.